Hace ya un cuarto de siglo, en 1999, el periodista estadounidense Red Butler fundó la web de información medioambiental Mongabay para poner el foco sobre la biodiversidad amenazada de la selva tropical, cuya frágil belleza él descubrió en su infancia.
So as a child, I always had this great interest in reptiles and amphibians. And I had the great fortune of having a mother who's a travel agent and a father who traveled a lot for business. And so my family prioritized travel. I had this opportunity when I was 12 to visit the Amazon. I had this incredible experience, but when I came home, I learned that there was an oil spill that had happened on the river that I had just visited. And so that led me to go from someone who just appreciated interesting frogs to really becoming aware of what was happening in the world around me.
Durante su adolescencia, otro viaje al corazón de un bosque tropical en el sudeste asiático le marcó para siempre e impulsó su vocación de contar historias que dieran visibilidad a la degradación de la naturaleza.
The thing that spurred me to action was I had an opportunity to go to Borneo when I was in high school. Had another incredible experience. I came back, and a few months later, I learned that the forest was pulped to make paper. And so when that forest was destroyed, I decided I want to try to raise awareness of what was happening to tropical forests.
Así nació Mongabay, una web bautizada así por Butler en homenaje a una isla cercana a Madagascar que visitó durante sus años universitarios. En sus inicios no era más que el proyecto personal de un solo redactor que publicaba los artículos que escribía por las noches, mientras durante el día trabajaba en una empresa de Silicon Valley. Pero 4 años después de su creación, el éxito de audiencia logrado por esta iniciativa permitió a Butler dedicarse plenamente a Mongabay y liderar la expansión de lo que hoy es una potente plataforma internacional de periodismo ambiental.
The way that we do this coverage is by having a network of journalists on nature's front lines. So we have 6 bureaus that are reporting in 6 languages all around the world. Again, typically focused in the tropics. And then we have a network of about 1,000 contributing journalists in about 80 countries. The value of this approach is it allows us to have very localized coverage. So we can develop those narratives around people in the field. Really first-person narratives, the human interest stories that are relevant for the local reporting, and then have them bubble up into these global stories that span countries.
Por esta excepcional trayectoria en la comunicación sobre la conservación de la naturaleza y la biodiversidad, especialmente en los países del sur global, Mongabay ha sido galardonada con el Premio Biophilia de la Fundación BBVA en su 5ª edición. Para su fundador, la clave del éxito de este proyecto ha sido su dedicación a alertar con su red de reporteros locales sobre la degradación de la naturaleza en las zonas con mayor biodiversidad del planeta y lograr así que su trabajo periodístico tenga un impacto real sobre la protección del medio ambiente.
Our approach is really focused on the tropics, so specifically places that we call impact geographies, where we feel like journalism can actually inform decision making when it comes to natural resources and protecting nature. We are trying to have impact in the world.
Con esta estrategia, los reportajes de Mongabay han conseguido detener múltiples proyectos que suponían una amenaza para la biodiversidad en los países donde trabajan sus reporteros, gracias a un periodismo ambiental basado siempre en las mejores fuentes científicas.
One of the most critical ingredients of successful environmental journalism is a strong basis in fact. So that means bringing in the science and conveying it in a way that makes it accessible for target audience to understand. Because if the science remains in the hands of only a few people, it can't inspire action. It doesn't help people understand what's happening in the world.
Al mismo tiempo, frente a las narrativas apocalípticas que abundan en la comunicación ambiental, Mongabay apuesta por un periodismo de soluciones para demostrar que es posible lograr avances frente a la degradación de la naturaleza.
The extent of environmental problems today can certainly be very depressing. We're hearing about the extinction crisis, the impact of climate change, worsening air pollution, worsening water pollution, plastics. I mean, it feels like a never-ending onslaught of bad news. And so there is this risk of environmental journalism leading people down a path where they feel like they're hopeless and cannot do anything. At Mongabay, we're trying to address that issue by intentionally focusing more on solutions coverage. And I believe this is really critical because it's very easy for people to get burned out on the bad news and lose any sense of hope.
En definitiva, a pesar de la innegable evidencia científica sobre el deterioro ambiental que se está produciendo a escala planetaria, Butler está convencido de que hay motivos para el optimismo y que el periodismo ambiental puede contribuir de manera fundamental a superar este gran desafío global.
We talk about tipping points, ecological tipping points. They tend to be negative. The Amazon collapsing, glaciers and sea ice melting. But there are also positive tipping points. So technological advances that can transform how we move around or how we produce electricity. It is important to cover those things in addition to covering the negative. So there are things being done in the world that are very hopeful and inspirational and show that change can happen and it can happen quickly and have real impact in the world. So those are all things that give me hope despite all the challenges we face.